Welcome, and thank you for joining me on another slow voyage through the past. Tonight, we step into a world of stone and sand, sweat and sandaled feet, where courage and fear walked side by side. Beneath the glaring Mediterranean sun, we will spend the next 2 hours unraveling the life of one of history's most famous and most misunderstood figures, the Roman gladiator. Together, we'll feel the weight of their armor, hear the murmur of the crowd, and glimpse the world beyond the arena gates. As always, let your eyelids grow heavy, let your breathing settle into a calm rhythm. Imagine yourself reclining on a worn bench of dark wood, a gentle breeze stirring the air. Let us begin. Imagine yourself in the cold gray light of dawn, roused by a rough whisper at your ear. Surge, surge. You awaken on a thin pallet, just a few rough blankets tossed atop hard earth. You learn to anticipate your opponent's moves, to read the subtle shifts in stance and the telltale twitch of a raised shoulder. Each stroke of the whetstone is a prayer. Sweat beads at your hairline, trickles down your back. You wipe your forehead with a scrap of cloth that smells faintly of garlic and stale wine. In that heat, even breathing feels like work, a whispered hope that someday they will not only practice the kill, but do the killing. But such grim thoughts have no place here. You seek shade beneath a high wall, dozing fitfully. Dreams of home pull at your heartstrings. But the lanista does not tolerate idleness. Soon enough, you are rising again, suiting up for the afternoon drills. You strap it on, feeling its cool touch against your skin. You spar with wooden swords, then trade places with your partners, learning to adapt to different stances and weights. The knowledge that each move could end in a stumble, a fall, an exposed throat. If you were in the arena, this would be the moment when the crowd surges to its feet, roaring encouragement or cursing loudly. You cannot hear them, though, because you are focused on the man in front of you, moving with machine-like precision, striking with the force of habit and years of training. Some days the focus is on thrusting, lunging, parrying, to the rhythm of the crowd, to the lanista's steady gaze. You will be ready for what only the gods know. But you, the gladiator, will be ready. Other days, the emphasis is on wrestling, grappling, taking down opponents without weapons. Once secure, you raise your arms, testing the heft of shield and sword. Then you join the ranks, stepping into the rhythm of combat rehearsal. You remove your helmet, letting out a breath you didn't realize you were holding. The sky has turned the color of old ivory, and the courtyard casts long shadows. You toss your weapons aside and pick up your sandals, tying the thongs with practiced hands. They have been chosen to perform for the amusement of spectators. You envy them. You are too fast, a precaution before tomorrow's likely match. Walking back to your pallet, you feel the ache of muscles straining, the dull throb of bruises forming. You lie down, pulling your blanket tight around you, not for the spectacle that awaits, but for the diversion. Any day now, you might be summoned, too, not while the lanista watches. So you eat your gruel and you wait for the midday sun to climb higher in the sky. But in that uncertainty lies also the chance for glory, for a fleeting moment of fame. For some gladiators, the crowds roar their names. The roar of the crowd, the flash of a net. Another day dawns, another chance to survive, maybe even thrive. For a gladiator, every day is a new story. There is honor in that, a brutal kind of freedom. When you dream of home, it is a place of peace, of quiet streets and familiar faces. You dream of being someone else, someone free from the lanista's watchful eye and the uncertainty of the morrow. For others, only silence hangs heavy after the fatal blow. Even in mock combat, there is a thrill, almost addictive, in the near miss of blades and the imagined sting of wounds. Inside eyelids, a gladiator training school, the air is cool and carries the faint tang of sweat and stale straw. Your sandals lie cracked at the edge of the pallet waiting. From it hangs your short gladius, its blade honed but never used here. Only wood meets wood within these walls. You wear a thick shoulder guard manica on your right arm. Each movement reminds you of its weight, yet it is your only protection. Helmets of polished bronze, crusted with horsehair, hang on pegs nearby, awaiting inspection. Outside, the compound gates groan open. You rise, joints stiff from yesterday's drills, and step onto crowded flagstones that still cling to last night's dew. His voice is calm, detached. Form up. There is no clamor of cheers here, only the measured echo of feet on flagstones. You join the line, a legion of men, each bearing the same resigned stoop of the shoulders, each bracing for the dawn's lessons. All around, fellow gladiators, themselves once free citizens, prisoners or slaves, move with precision. Some cradle wooden practice swords close to their chests, their grips already calloused. First up, morning drills, Under the pale sky, you run laps round the courtyard. It is thin, bland, but enough to fuel the next round. Between drills, you sit beneath vine-covered trellises, watching sunlight dance on patched walls. Conversation is sparse. You and your companions exchange nods more often than words. Most men keep their thoughts close, savoring brief moments of peace before the next order rings out, and they must rise again to the rhythm of steel on steel. Every breath is thick with the metallic taste of effort. You lunge and parry with wooden swords rudies that bite at the air with a hollow snap. The instructor's orders come in clipped Latin, precise and unyielding. Adversarius. Combat practice. Precipite. Strike first. Presidium. Defend. Depositum. Throw yourself on the ground. Others. Stretch taut muscles, limbs damp with anticipation of the day's labor. Your master, the lanista, emerges from a stone chamber. Here is what it was really like to be a Roman gladiator. For 3 hours you are a whirlwind of motion, mimicking the fluid dance of battle. Thrusts and parries become second nature. By mid-morning, your legs burn like coals, and you are led to a low table where bowls of barley gruel await. Some gladiators pass the time sharpening their weapons, not because they may use them soon, but to hone their skills in preparation for a future fight. And now the heat begins to rise from the courtyard floor, shimmering waves that distort the world in patches. By midday, the crowd in the training yard thins. Some of your comrades have gone to the arena. The life of a gladiator is marked by constant uncertainty, by the ever-present possibility of death. Now the heat of the day settles over the compound. It is a ritual as ingrained as fighting itself. You pull on a leathern Bolteus belt, cinching it tight around your hips. Today, the man in the bronze mask is you. The afternoon wears on, filled with the clang of metal and the grunt of exertion. But no matter the drill, there is always the underlying hum of tension. And now the final bell rings, signaling the end of the day's drills. Tonight, there is no supper. Sleep comes fitfully, haunted by nightmares of the sand. But as dawn approaches, the nightmares fade, replaced by the steady beat of your own heart. And if you survive today, you will wake again to the taste of blood and sand, a slightly higher quality grain that meant just a little less starvation. He also slept on a cleaner pallet, a straw mattress that didn't smell like stale urine and rotting wood. But make no mistake, Spartacus is still a slave. It was a routine trip along the Appian Way, the ancient road that crisscrossed Italy like a spider's web. Perhaps it was the crisp autumn air, the golden light of dawn, or maybe just the patience of a lifetime of planning. Before the others could react, they had silenced the centurions, who knew what it felt like to be denied their freedom, and were determined to never experience it again. There was no celebration, no high fives, just the grim satisfaction of men disarmed the legionaries and turned the tables on their oppressors. According to Appian, he was tall and muscular with a shock of red hair and piercing blue eyes. His armor was simple, a helmet, a shield and greaves, and his weapon of choice, a long dagger, probably shared by the camp followers, armed themselves with knives and other tools, pillaging on villages and gathering new recruits to their standard, one that relied heavily on the enemy's predictability. Even after defeating Pompey, he didn't try to hold any territory, didn't attempt to raise siege engines, or didn't burn any cities. But it worked. For 2 years, Spartacus's forces outmaneuvered the legions, winning battles against the likes of Marcus Crassus and Gnaeus Pompeius Magnus. 2 legions led by a former consul, Lucius Mummius, cornered the rebels on the slopes of Mount Vesuvius, fleeing into the hills or throwing themselves on the mercy of the Romans. A few stood firm, and it was among them that Spartacus fell, issuing orders and coordinating the defense. Please remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thanks for coming along on this adventure. At their peak, they boasted some 120,000 men, a ragtag army of tribesmen, one that lies far from the clamor of battle. If you enjoyed this episode, we've got plenty more stories to dive into together. Until next time, stay curious, stay thirsty for knowledge, and above all, stay legendary. Spartacus's army was too outnumbered, too exhausted, and too disorganized to stand up to the legions. Within days, they were surrounded, escaped slaves and disgruntled townsfolk. He just wanted to lead his people across the Alps into northern Italy, and generals would study his strategies. A barbarian who had dared to challenge Rome. Others viewed him as a hero, a champion of the oppressed who had given hope to millions. Poets would write of his deeds, philosophers would debate his legacy, where he believed he could secure them a piece of land, where they could live free from Roman interference, united only by their hatred of Rome and their desire for freedom, and slipped away into the Italian hills, It was a bold move, almost suicidal, yet it worked. A warning to other would-be rebels, setting ambushes in narrow passes or cutting supply lines, taking food, clothing and shelter from those unfortunate enough to cross their path. Along with the bodies of his chief officers, Crixus and Enomaus, the victorious Romans paraded his severed head through the streets of Rome. But they never massacred entire towns. When pursued, he lured his pursuers into traps, dispersing his troops like smoke before reassembling them in the rear. A notable exception being the massacre at Fregellae, letting them tire themselves out before unleashing his warriors on the exhausted enemy. He even resorted to guerrilla tactics, sending out small bands to harass the countryside, knowing that the Romans would have to disperse their legions thin to protect the entire province. Instead, they lived among the locals, paying for goods and services with the plunder they took from the Romans. Now the hunters had become the hunted, the strong now led by the shackles of the weak. He understood the strategic value of Rome's infrastructure, the roads, farms, and settlements that kept the empire running. He wasn't looking to overthrow Rome or conquer the Mediterranean. His every move is controlled by his master. He just wanted a way for his people to live beyond the shadow of slavery. Whatever the case, in a flash, Spartacus acted. The gladiators marched across the frost-crisp fields, shackled together in their usual silent, sullen procession, bought and sold like cattle. It was a scene that had played out countless times before. A group of defeated warriors dragged along like animals to their next fight, their next master, their next death, forced to fight for the amusement of crowds, enduring the lash of the procurbitoi, knowing that doing so would be pointless. One had to prove oneself stronger, smarter, deadlier than one's opponents, and perhaps most important of all, he's despised by the cruel and sadistic proctors, including one particularly nasty fellow named Milo, who takes great pleasure in making Spartacus's existence a living hell. Still, Spartacus endures, and maybe there's something to be admired in that. The quiet dignity of a man who refuses to break under any circumstances. Or maybe it's just that Spartacus is too smart to crack under pressure, more deserving of mercy than the rest. Spartacus did exactly that. The first time we hear of him in the historical record, he has already been sold 3 times. First to a dealer, then to a procurer, and finally to Lentulus Batiatus. This much is certain. The details of how he got there are shrouded in myth. Only men whose survival instincts have been honed by the same horrors of war. From Dacia to Hispania, these warriors brought different styles and fierce determination, but simply to live another day, so much so that Bathiatus hesitates to send him into the arena, fearing he might be killed and thus cut short his value as a property. While other gladiators come and go, Spartacus stays, is unknown, and he does so because he's earned a kind of respect from his master. It's not pity or benevolence, mind you, but grudging admiration for a slave who doesn't just follow orders, but does so well enough to make a profit for his owner. And when his chance comes, he seizes it with both hands. Every day in the training yard was a lesson, a test, a fight to stay alive, not just from the whips of the procurbitoi or the net and trident of the retiarius, but also from the gladiators who fought not just to win glory in the arena, to rise above in this brutal environment. We know for a fact that Spartacus used to be a gladiator, a highly skilled one at that, but how he became one, whether through capture in battle or selling himself into slavery for debt or being born into servitude. What we do know is that he landed in the hands of Batiatus, a Roman knight and lanista, was the very picture of the warrior poet, a fighter and a strategist, someone who trains and owns gladiators, the men who will fight and often die in Rome's bloody spectacles, evading Roman patrols. When we meet him, Spartacus is already known for his ferocity in the ring. According to Plutarch, Spartacus received a bit more barley in his rations, and while Spartacus earns a modicum of respect from Batiatus, whatever the case may be, Spartacus remains unbroken, biding his time. In the autumn of 73 BCE, Spartacus and about 70 of his fellow captives were being transferred from one camp to another. Their captors, a handful of armed thugs, rode ahead, keeping watch and cracking whips whenever the pace slowed. But this time something was different. He and his companions overpowered their guards, seizing chains and weapons. The victors didn't stop to count heads. They made their way to the nearest kitchen. For the next 2 years, Spartacus and his band of brothers roamed Italy. Spartacus, the leader. As the rebels swept through central and southern Italy, they lived off the land. Spartacus was no petty thief or bandit, so he led his army across the peninsula, staying one step ahead of the legions. At times, he even let the Romans get close. It was an odd strategy, yet Spartacus never pushed his advantage. By 72 BCE, Spartacus's dream was simple, but the gods had other plans. In the spring of 71 BCE, Spartacus's luck ran out. The Senate threw everything it had against him. According to Plutarch, Spartacus fought alongside his men on the front line, wielding his trademark dagger. Other accounts say he stayed back. Whatever the truth, it didn't matter. Most of Spartacus's men broke ranks. His body was cut down and thrown into a pit. Spartacus's revolt may have been crushed, but its echoes would reverberate through Rome's corridors of power for centuries to come. Some saw him as a monster, and as the firelight dims and embers cool, let us drift gently into a quieter mystery. Thank you all so much for joining me on this journey through time. What if the stones could speak? What stories would they tell about the men who trained here all those years ago? Today, their echoes linger, preserved in the very fabric of Rome. In 2014, amid the ruins of an ancient Roman villa, a team of archaeologists brushed away centuries of dust and grime. Beneath layers of volcanic ash and olive tree roots, they discovered something remarkable. The year is 79 AD. Mount Vesuvius sleeps just beyond the city walls. Here in Pompeii, people sip wine and watch the morning mist burn off the nearby mountains. It's not your typical day in one of the empire's liveliest cities. They learn that this part of the city was home to a number of barracks and training facilities for gladiators. But the inscriptions also suggest something more. A cultural hub where visiting teams of fighters were welcomed with banquets and competitions. Could this be the missing piece of the puzzle, evidence of an ancient athletic center? What secrets does this archaeological whisper offer us about the lives and deaths of the gladiators? Welcome to my channel. The broken shards lead them to a shallow pool in another corner, which collected rainwater and directed it into a covered channel. All signs point to a surprising conclusion. To solve this mystery, the team consults the writings of Roman philosopher Pliny the Younger. Pliny described a gruesome custom known as the blood court, where condemned criminals were offered a choice between two fates: execution or fighting to the death as gladiators. Perhaps it was used in fencing or thrusting, but the truth is stranger than they imagined. Metallurgists analyzed the composition of the blade and determined that it was made of lead, complete with chariots, cavalry charges, and theatrical combat. It's a peaceful vision, a far cry from the brutality we associate with the Colosseum. But the team doesn't stop there. These performances were meant to entertain, not to kill. And the quarry of the gladiator school may have been a place where scenes like these were practiced. They learned that these fighters weren't just slaves or criminals. They came from all walks of life: free men, former prisoners, and even Roman citizens. They followed strict codes of conduct, participated in religious rituals, and formed deep bonds with their fellow fighters. It's not just any lead either, but a specially refined lead imported from Spain. Hundreds of names and images carved into the plaster. Many depict garlanded figures in combat stances, perhaps local heroes or famous gladiators. Others show scenes of violence, a reminder of the harsh realities of their profession. Each shard and scratch brings us closer to the lived reality of men who fought for freedom, fame, or mere survival. As their stories unfold, we remember that behind every inscription, there's a human touch, the echo of a life lived on the edge of the sword. Could these bones belong to those who chose the latter? Asking Mars, the god of war, for strength in battle, we leave behind the hush of archaeology and step into a world of silk-clad wealth and marble splendor, a world next to the roar of the arena. Others are more desperate, begging for mercy or help in overcoming a deadly opponent. Together, they form a chorus of voices, a testament to the hopes and fears that echoed through the quarry. To understand why, we need to look no further than the Colosseum itself. Built in 80 AD, it was a place of spectacle, a symbol of Rome's power, where visitors could see lions devour Christians and condemned criminals fight to the death. The pits were likely makeshift arenas where novice gladiators could spar without hurting themselves. Could these gladiators have been slaves or servants? They dig deeper into the remains of the barracks nearby. That's when they strike gold, literally. Rusted iron scraps lie strewn across the floor, likely dropped by a panicked fighter trying to escape the collapsing wall. Among the debris, they find fragments of manica plates, the leather or metal arm guards worn by gladiators. Nearby, they spot bronze rivets from a gladiator helmet and, surprisingly, a singular piece of a gladius blade, whose loyalty to their masters was rewarded with the chance to fight in the arena. When they needed to wash off the sand, all they had to do was dip into the pool. Voila! We finally have our healing. The layout doesn't match up with what we know about gladiator training grounds. Healers usually included a central courtyard. It's here that the true mystery of the quarry begins. Each slab has a single hole, about a foot wide, filled with layers of sand. What's their significance? As the team works to clean them up, they realize each pit is about the same depth as an adult's knee. At first glance, the rooms appear to be nothing but empty shells, hollowed out spaces offering little clues as to their former purpose. Yet when the research team takes a closer look, a close examination reveals tiny incisions along the shins, the result of splinters or a trepanation process to treat broken limbs. Boar tusks and sheep vertebrae indicate the remains of ritual feasts, possibly in honor of fallen gladiators. But the human bones tell a different story. They find traces of activity frozen in time, a space where gladiators could spar while spectators watched from the surrounding stands. Instead, this quarry seems to feature a series of small, dark rooms with rough stone floors and walls pockmarked with holes. There are no signs of bleachers, only a handful of benches. And today, let's explore the quarry of the gladiator school. It looked like an old training ground, rows of wooden posts embedded in packed earth, fragments of bone scattered like breadcrumbs. Was this once a place where swords clashed and shields rang out? And if so, how did life and death intertwine within its borders? They ray looking for anything that can shed light on the lives of the gladiators, who trained just outside the city. Nearby, cuts of animal muscle are preserved in gutters, the leftovers of a butchered beast. These finds may not seem like much on their own, but put together, they paint a vivid picture. This may have been a sort of prep area, a place where animals were sacrificed before being paraded around the city for public consumption, during festivals and special occasions, or perhaps even before grand games in the Colosseum. Their work takes them to a former quarry where pumice was once mined to help pave Roman roads. Now it's become a dumping ground for the discarded bricks of fallen buildings. But as the team sifts through the rubble, they notice something strange. As historians piece together the school's story, the silence of the stone speaks volumes. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to get notified every time we upload a new video. A group of researchers led by archaeologist Esther Stillwell have been combing through sections of Pompeii known as the suburbs. The tumbled stones reveal collapsed chambers, some with drained channels, others with low benches affixed to stone walls. Were these rooms once used as storage areas? To understand this mystery further, the team pores over written records. But there's still something puzzling about this place. So how do we make sense of this jumble of rooms? And what exactly were they used for? In one corner of the southern room, they discover a set of stone slabs. Next to the pits, they find a broken water pipe. But other mysteries remain, especially the human bones found throughout the complex. They seem strangely smooth in some areas, suggesting they've been trimmed or shaved. Who are these men who met their end here? Were they young boys groomed for the big leagues or experienced veterans nearing the end of their careers? The answer lies in the inscription on a nearby urn. It reads Gaius Valerius Catullus, a name linked to a well-known family of Roman senators. But the team isn't done yet. At first, the team is puzzled by the sword fragment. Its narrow tip and lack of grooves seem to make it too delicate for combat. Now the team pieces together the sword's history. It wasn't designed for warfare. Instead, it was likely used in ceremonial training. But the Colosseum wasn't just a place of bloodshed. It was also a backdrop for elaborate reenactments of historical battles. Here, under the watchful eyes of coaches, gladiators could rehearse their moves, clashing swords and shields, without worrying about taking lives. They pore over ancient texts describing the gladiators' daily lives. And what better way to strengthen those bonds than with art? That's when the team notices something extraordinary. The collapsed walls are covered in graffiti. Some inscriptions are simple, and as the sun rises over that ancient site. But one question still lingers. How many such schools existed at the empire's height? And what daily rituals bound these warriors in common fate? Now, imagine yourself reclining on plush cushions in a shaded loggia, sipping sweet wine while servants fan you with fragrant palm fronds. Slaves wait eagerly, ready to serve whatever you desire. But soon it is time to leave the villa and make the short journey to the amphitheater. Summon your litter, a conveyance of ivory poles carried by 4 strong slaves. Keep your eyes forward, though, for the sights round you are meant to impress. Admire the intricate carvings on the stonework, each turn bringing you closer to the bloody spectacle within. Now hear the roar of the crowd. Now he is joined by 5 senators, each more distinguished and influential than the last. Startled, turn to see the emperor entering in a blaze of gold and purple. Recall your own days as a young patrician when you trained in the palaestra. You practiced wrestling in the dust, learning to throw and pin your opponents. Servers arrive bearing platters piled high with chilled melon and honeyed nuts. Take your time over lunch, savoring each bite and discussing current events with your friends. The afternoon sun filters through the awning, casting long shadows as the final bouts resume. To you, this is a ritual as old as the walls of Rome itself, a display of martial prowess and human endurance. The final combats end, casting long shadows in its wake. Look back at the crusted stones of the Colosseum, shimmering in the dying light. Ahead, your villa awaits, its colonnade alive with the flickering glow of lanterns. Servants stand patiently, ready to welcome you home. You recall the dust of the palestra clinging to your skin, the shouts of the crowd echoing in your ears, the clash of weapons and the cries of the combatants. You know that tomorrow will bring new adventures, new challenges, new opportunities to advance the glory of Rome. But tonight, you rest easy in your luxurious bed, dreaming of gentler things. You are glad to be alive, glad to be in Rome, and most of all, glad to be not in the arena. You remember the thrill of the chase, the taste of victory, the sting of defeat. You think of the gladiators who fought and died in the arena today, their lives cut short, their stories untold. You wonder who they were, where they came from, what dreams they had for the future. With a sigh, you rise as the crowd begins to rumble with excitement, eager for the next spectacle to unfold. You are safe here in the atrium, away from the violence and chaos of the arena. You are surrounded by friends and family, enjoying the fruits of Rome's prosperity. You have everything you could ever want or need, and for that, you are grateful. But it is time for you to go. Follow the flow of spectators out of the arena, down the steps and back onto the bustling streets. But you are also aware of your own good fortune. You are not down there in the arena, fighting for mere scraps of food or a chance at freedom. You are safe here. You are entertained. Soft music drifts from a corner where a gentle harpist strums a calming melody. Sink deeper into your cushions, allowing the soothing sounds to wash over you. Dinner arrives, a feast of lentils stewed with bay leaf, succulent roast dormouse and sweet pomegranates. Talk turns to tomorrow's philosophical symposium, where the leading thinkers of the age will gather to discuss the latest doctrines. Your friend Lucius plans to attend the coming festival of Vulcan, the god of fire, where artisans from across Italy will showcase their skills. Such events are the hallmark of Roman culture, a testament to the grandeur and sophistication of Rome's society. Torches flare to life, their flickering light dancing on the sand. The air grows thick with the smell of burning oil, mingling with the coppery tang of sweat and straw. The sounds of combat reach you muffled and distant. Despite being so close to the action, a new tax is proposed by the Praetorian prefect to pay for the construction of a new temple. Some senators complain that the baths in the forum are becoming too crowded. One senator worries that his son is spending too much money on prostitutes. These matters and more are fair game as you enjoy the fruits of Rome's prosperity. But never did you draw a blade in earnest or face an opponent who drew blood. For you, the games are just that, a game. You are shielded from danger by your privilege and status. All eyes follow his progress as he takes his place on the throne above. Soon it will be time for lunch, and when the announcer cries "Hora," rise and follow the flow of spectators toward the exciting arena. Before leaving, visit the latrines, where a slave quickly cleans you with a sponge and fresh linen. You are careful not to soil the fine white cloth covering your own cushions. Hurry back to the stands, for the second half of the games is about to begin. You cross the wide corridor, entering a lounging room. Here you recline on a couch, allowing servants to fan you and shower you with scented water from silver pitchers. Others attend to your companions, offering them similar comforts. Stand with the others and raise your hand in the traditional salute, glad that you are safe and secure here in the shade and not fighting in the sand below. When the salute is returned, sit back down with a smile. Quickly, make introductions and engage them in polite conversation. Discuss the latest political intrigue in Gaul or the philosophical debate raging between Epicurus and his followers. The new academy. Even indulge in gossip, such as the rumor that Rome will soon have a new aqueduct bringing fresh water from the hills of Ostia. Every topic is suitable as long as it does not offend or disturb the others. Swelling like a distant storm, and pass through the last set of doors into the throng. Settle onto your cushioned seat, draped in fine white cloth. You are far from the grime and heat of the arena, an emblem of your rank and a shield against the worst excesses of the games. Soldiers in burnished bronze breastplates stand at attention, their armor glinting in the sunlight, and look across the vast expanse of the amphitheater to the tiered rows of seats rising up towards the sky. Already spectators fill the stands, all eager for the games to begin. Help yourself into the wicker basket with a cushion for support. Lie back and let the rhythmic swaying lull you into a light doze as your attendants negotiate the crowded cobbled streets. He is the sponsor of the games and the most powerful man in Rome. Behind him, 6 trumpeters sound a fanfare as 8 men enter playing lutes, lyres and aulos. Their dyed tunics show off their wealth and power, so to do the golden chains binding exotic animals behind them. Leopards pacing restlessly, their lithe bodies tensed for action. Ostriches crane their long necks, eyeing you curiously. As they are led through the gates, their handlers give a sharp command. But first, you need sustenance. Servants set out a simple breakfast. Bread dipped into olive oil, pungent cheese from the hills of Sicily, perhaps some dates plucked fresh from the palm grove in your own villa in the countryside. Eat slowly, letting the rich flavors linger, and discussing philosophy with your friend Lucius, who has come to spend the day with you in the city. He speaks of stoicism, how one should confront life's challenges with virtue and duty. You nod thoughtfully, though your mind wanders to today's outing at the Colosseum, where hundreds of slaves will fight and die to entertain you. It is a necessary evil, this bloodshed, to keep the masses quiet and Rome prosperous. You are no gladiator. You are Gaius Valerius Marcellus, scion of a wealthy senatorial family. Today, the Colosseum awaits, but first, a morning spent in leisure. Wake with the dawn, stretching after a night of slumber on a bed of ivory and linen. The morning slips by pleasantly enough, reading poetry or watching musicians rehearse in the atrium. Soon, you see the great Colosseum looming up ahead, its imposing bulk dwarfing the surrounding buildings. Pass beneath one of the many grand arches, decorated with statues of emperors past. Tread carefully on the flagstones, though, for the urine of dogs and other animals has made them slick and treacherous. Continue until you reach your private entrance, where another slave waits to take your ticket. Check the time and announce to the cohort captain that his patron has arrived. As your small party enters the outer courtyard, glance down at the bloodstains on the flagstones. They are faint now, but these slabs once ran crimson. As you ascend the steps to your level, trumpets blare, announcing the editor making his way to his own box nearby. Watch as the editor takes his seat next to yours, nodding in greeting. Suddenly, trumpets blast again, and as the games begin, you sip from a delicate glass of chilled Falernian wine, relishing the cool liquid on your tongue. As combats end in the arena and the victors are awarded their wreaths, continue talking with your companions, occasionally glancing down at the bloody spectacle. When you are ready to eat, after 2 hours of eating and relaxing, prepare to return to your seat. As you settle back into your seat, notice how the crowds are hushed now, their eyes fixed on the arena below. In the stands, the spectators are politely detached, their gaze is distant as they watch the fights below. As the day wanes and the torchlight fades, the sun dips below the horizon. As you enter, the familiar sight of the atrium brings a wave of relief. And yet, even as you speak, part of your mind drifts back to the arena. But then you shake off the dark thoughts, returning to the present moment. As the evening deepens and sleep beckons, and now, as the night deepens, we wander through quieter ruins. Imagine yourself standing amidst the stillness of a forgotten amphitheater. It is no longer crowded, no longer vibrant with cheering voices. Instead, weeds now curl between the weathered stones. Small lizards bask in the sunlit cracks of the arena floor. You walk slowly, your footsteps soft against the faded mosaic tiles, each step echoing faintly beneath towering archways now worn by wind and time. The carved seats once polished smooth by decades of spectators are now pocked with age. In places, wildflowers bloom. Its coffers, once overflowing with the spoils of war, began to dwindle. Our journey through the hushed corridors of history has come to a gentle close. We turn from the crumbling archways, yet their echoes resonate through the chambers of memory. Amidst the spectral embrace of ancient walls, we find solace in a small, unassuming tavern. Within its rustic walls, the air is alive with the murmur of conversation and the clinking of tankards. Let us raise our tankards high in a final toast to the indomitable spirit of the Roman Empire, to the fallen gladiators who fought and died within the great arenas. So raise your voices, my friends, and sing with abandon, and let the enchanting strains of Roman song weave their spell upon you. Lose yourselves in the rhythm of the night and surrender to the enchantment of this timeless tale. Let the music be your guide and the laughter your companion as we journey through the heart of Rome's eternal magic. Here, where once thousands roared with approval or jeered their disapproval, now silence reigns supreme. Dust motes dance in the shafts of sunlight piercing through cracks in the crumbling concrete. Only their stories remain, whispering through the gaps in the weathered stones. So close your eyes and imagine yourself in this place, surrounded by the echoes of a bygone era. carried on the wind that whistles through the shattered archways. Let the melodies of joy and remembrance carry us through the twilight hours, celebrating the beauty of life and the magic of storytelling. Stretching long and cool across the ancient ruins, for a brief while, you are part of this lively company, sharing stories and laughter as the night deepens. You are reminded of the vast expanse of time that stretches both before and behind you. The weight of the ancient city presses down upon you, a tangible presence that envelops and isolates. With a heavy heart, you must leave the tavern and continue your journey. Every shadow seems to hold a whisper of a story long past. And as you continue your solitary journey, you can't help but feel the weight of countless lives lived and lost within these ancient walls. Your footsteps soft against the faded mosaic tiles, each step echoing faintly beneath towering archways now worn by wind and time. The moon climbs higher in the darkening sky, casting long shadows from the crumbling columns that line your path, mingling with the murmur of conversation and the soft strum of a lute, of joy and sorrow, their weathered forms taking on spectral shapes in the gloom, of triumphs and betrayals, of the rise and fall of one of history's greatest civilizations. The wind picks up, rustling through the remnants of the forum, each step a whisper in the vast silence of the ruins. The moon, a pale disk in the dark sky, casts long shadows, waiting to share their stories. You pause by a crumbling archway, half hidden by creeping vines. The moonlight filters through the leaves, their vast sweep of stairs leading you from the bustling Piazza di Spagna all the way to the Trinita dei Monti Church, creating a mosaic of light and shadow on the ground before you, making the crumbling buildings loom like phantoms from a forgotten age. It's not just about the stones and the shadows, carrying you away to a time when these steps were new, leaving the Spanish steps to their vigil over the sleeping city. As you make your way through the quiet streets, these ancient walls are more than just stones and mortar. They are vessels of history, holding within them the echoes of lives lived and stories waiting to be told. The echoes of the song linger in your ears. You do so with a newfound respect for the past, a deeper appreciation for the fragility of life, and a renewed commitment to cherishing the stories that shape our world. The ruins of Rome aren't just a relic of the past. They are a living, breathing testament to the enduring power of storytelling, a reminder of the timeless beauty and enduring spirit of Rome. When the Spanish embassy stood proudly at the top of the hill, when artists and poets gathered in the piazza below, it's about the whispers of history that echo between them, creating a symphony of whispers that seem to carry fragments of conversations from a bygone era, a monumental presence that has witnessed centuries of comings and goings. Each step is worn smooth by countless footsteps, each landing echoing with the ghosts of voices from long ago. It was a city of laughter and life, of love and loss, of joy and sorrow, the legacy of the countless lives that have touched these ancient stones, a haunting melody that seems to float up from the depths of the steps themselves. It's a song without words, a lament for a lost love, a celebration of life, a requiem for the dead. The air is filled with the sounds of the city, the distant hum of traffic, the laughter and chatter of people returning home from a day's work. And it's in the ruins, in the cracks of the weathered stone, that you can feel the pulse of that life, the heartbeat of a civilization long gone, yet somehow still very much with us. You can almost hear the rumble of activity, the murmur of merchants, the clatter of tools, the rumble of chariots, of the full range of human emotions that have resonated within these ancient walls. Standing at the edge of the Palatine Hill, the wind whispers through the broken stones, carrying with it the scent of rain and the distant sound of a lonely flute. You gaze out over the sprawling ruins of the Roman Forum, letting the ancient city envelop you. Letting the soothing rhythm of the falling water wash over you. It's easy to lose oneself in this ancient city. Every corner you turn reveals a new wonder, a new mystery to unravel, etched into the weathered stone, whispered in the rustle of the leaves, felt in the damp chill of the evening air. You are not alone in these ruins. In the distance, the mournful strains of a cello drift towards you, weaving through the ancient stones. The flickering lamplight dances in the depths of the room, revealing weathered faces engaged in animated discourse, sharing tales of adventure and daring deeds. The sun dips low in the sky, the moonlight paints them silver, transforming them from cold marble into phantoms of a forgotten age. Tucked away in a quiet corner of the city, you discover a small, unassuming tavern, of being accompanied by unseen eyes that follow your every move. The boundaries between past and present blur, and you find yourself living each day 2,000 years ago and each night now. Its warm glow spills out onto the cobblestones, beckoning you closer, painting the clouds with hues of blood orange and fading embers. You stand here at the foot of the Colosseum, a monument to an age of glory and bloodshed, of cheers and jeers, of life and death. And as the night deepens still, may the spirit of camaraderie bind us together, silent witness to the triumphs and tragedies of the gladiators who fought within its bounds. Above you, the arching stones tell tales of emperors and conquests, of fierce battles and bloody spectacles. The weathered marble seems to whisper of a time when crowds roared with excitement, when the very earth trembled with the clash of steel and the thunder of chariots, forging bonds of friendship that will endure as long as the echoes of the Colosseum whisper. Through the ages, you turn from the imposing facade of the Colosseum and begin to explore the labyrinth of ancient Rome. The streets, once bustling with activity, now echo with the whispers of history, whose courage and sacrifice continue to echo through the ages. And to you, dear listener, we will awaken refreshed, ready to embrace the adventures that await us in the heart of the eternal city. For in this moment, as the music swells and the stories unfold, we are all connected by the timeless threads of human experience, bound together by the shared love of adventure, discovery, and the magic that lies at the heart of every great story. For joining us on this journey through the whispering ruins of the past, to close your eyes and let the world fade away, leaving only dreams and slumber. But what if sleep eludes your grasp? What if it feels more like a battlefield than a refuge? A flickering oil lamp casts dancing shadows on the weathered beams overhead, as the scent of spiced wine and roasted chestnuts fills the room. Around us, weary travelers and local artisans share stories of their day over mugs of steaming ale. For now, we too will linger here. In the flickering lamplight, you see not just weathered stone, but men, strong arms, oiled skin glistening under the hot sun, the flash of steel, the thud of bodies hitting packed earth, the roar of the crowd, finding comfort in the simple pleasures of good company and warm cheer. Now hand in hand, we make our way through the moon-dappled streets. May the spirits of the Colosseum, with their tales of valor and sacrifice, mingle with the soft murmur of our own stories as we dream beneath a sky filled with the promise of a new day. The spirit of the Colosseum fading into the hush of twilight, chasing away the lingering shadows of night. We will wake refreshed, ready to continue our journey through the timeless echoes of the eternal city, leaving behind the ghosts of roaring crowds and clashing steel. The city beyond beckons with the faint glow of twilight. The stars are beginning to prick the darkening canvas above, and the night wind whispers tales of ages past, in poems, in paintings, in dusty manuscripts locked away in candlelit monasteries. And even now, some say that when twilight falls upon those old stones, you breathe deeply, inhaling the dry, earthy scent of time itself. Nothing remains forever, but some places, some stories leave an imprint, reminding you of the resilience of the human spirit and the enduring legacy of a bygone era. As the night unfolds, let us lose ourselves in the vibrant tapestry of sound and storytelling that surrounds us here. In this ancient city, let the music swell, the laughter ring, and the tales of old transport us to another time and place. A breeze stirs in the amphitheaters, a soft, almost imperceptible sound, like distant cheering, fading in and out with the wind. New emperors found other ways to command loyalty through church and charity, rather than spectacles of blood. As Christianity took hold, the arenas grew quiet. Laws were passed forbidding gladiatorial contests. The sands of the arena, once soaked with sweat and sacrifice, slowly cooled, their delicate stems swaying in the breeze that whispers through broken colonnades. Here, where once gladi met shields, there is only silence. In the later centuries of the Roman Empire, the great games began to fade. The empire's focus shifted. Yet even as these ancient stadiums crumbled, their stories endured. You pause, standing there, letting the stillness wrap around you, as the last of the daylight bleeds from the sky, painting the weathered stones in hues of fading embers. It's time for us to depart. The grand arenas may fall silent in the cobblestone heart of Rome. For tonight, let us rest our weary bones and allow the echoes of laughter and camaraderie to lull us into a peaceful slumber. And when the morning light returns, now, my friends, as the evening deepens and the tavern's warm glow envelops us, may the echoes of the Colosseum forever resonate within your heart. For in this moment, as the stars begin their celestial dance above and the moon bathes the city in its silvery light. We are truly alive. So gather close, dear listeners, and when the first rays of dawn begin to paint the eastern sky, the sweet release of sleep, you find yourself lost in the labyrinthine passages beneath the stands. Here, high above the arena floor, the air is thick with the ghosts of memories. These gladiators, these warriors, these men who fought to the death for your amusement, they are gone. The past is never truly gone. It's all around us, a constant companion, whether we choose to listen or not. The evening shadows have deepened now. It looms before you, a colossus of weathered stone. But now, as the night deepens, we wander through quieter ruins. You walk slowly. As you pass by weathered statues, the air within is thick with the sense of roasting meat and spiced wine. In this modest tavern, you find a respite from the chill of the night, a moment of warmth and camaraderie. But as the hours pass and the revelry fades, emerging back into the cool night air, you find yourself alone once more in the shadowy streets. Every step echoes with the ghosts of footsteps that came before. In the stillness of the night, you find yourself drawn to the Trevi fountain, its waters cascading gracefully into the basin below. You reach out to touch the cool stone, feeling the centuries-old energy thrumming beneath your fingertips. The soft splash of water fills the night. For a moment, you stand mesmerized by the fountain's timeless grace, and yet, as the night wears on, you can't shake the feeling of being watched. The wind whispers secrets through the ruins, carrying the echoes of laughter, shouts, and screams. The music seems to speak of love and loss. Before you, the vast expanse of ancient structures stretches into the darkness. Each crumbling edifice whispers tales of emperors and senators. You close your eyes. In this place of shattered columns and crumbling arches, the night deepens, and with it, the shadows grow longer, stretching and twisting into eerie shapes across the ruined landscape. You walk slowly, your footsteps echoing on the ancient pavement. Everywhere you look, there are signs of life lived long ago. The ghosts of Rome's past linger here, waiting to be discovered. It's here, in these moments of solitude, that the true spirit of Rome's ruins comes alive. Rome wasn't just a city of emperors and gladiators. As the night draws to a close, you find yourself at the foot of the Spanish Steps. Even in the darkness, you can see the outline of the steps against the sky. Standing here at the bottom of the steps, you feel the weight of history pressing down on you. But above it all, you hear the faintest whisper of music. You close your eyes, letting the music wash over you. You open your eyes and turn to go. You realize that some stories, like those of the gladiators, deserve to be remembered, to be honored and shared. So as you continue your journey, as the flickering lamplight dances round you, casting long shadows on the walls, it echoes through time, whispering through the corridors of history. And as the night deepens, let our thoughts drift gently through the ages, long after the arenas had been left to crumble beneath vines and moss. The memory of the gladiator endured. In the medieval world, they were not remembered as brutal fighters or merciless killers, but as strange relics of a pagan past, figures as foreign to them as those who fought in the distant, barbarous lands beyond the empire's borders, taking on new meanings and associations as it moved from the dusty pages of history books into the vibrant world of art. Carried on the wings of imagination, painters like Michelangelo and Raphael created dramatic scenes of gladiators, locked in fierce combat. And as the ruins of the Colosseum became a popular tourist destination, the image of the gladiator took on a new dimension, their muscles rippling beneath their skin as they clashed in imagined duels. Visitors marveled not just at the engineering feat of the amphitheater, but at the thought of the countless lives that had been lived and lost within its walls, their imaginations wandering to distant ages of sand and stone, their deeds both brutal and heroic. The reader felt their pain, their fear, their triumphs and defeats. The gladiator was no longer just a fighter. He was a symbol, a memory, a lesson. These tales weren't just adventures. They were meditations on courage and sacrifice, resonating with readers who had their own struggles to endure, on the bonds of brotherhood and the fight for freedom. Their canvases came alive with the energy of the moment. Allow the flickering flames to guide your eyes as they slowly begin to droop. Let the warmth of the fire envelop you. But now it's time to let go. The story of the gladiator continues to live on, echoing through the ages and touching the hearts of all who hear it, reminding you of the power of the human spirit and the enduring legacy of the past. So as you drift off to sleep, carry a piece of that story with you, letting its themes of courage, resilience, and brotherhood guide you through the darkness and bring you safely to the light of day. Release the images from your mind, allowing them to fade into the tapestry of dreams. But the feeling will remain. Maybe you'll find yourself inexplicably drawn to the tales of ancient Rome. Face the day with confidence, knowing that you have what it takes to overcome any challenge. After all, isn't that the lesson the gladiators taught us all those years ago? That no matter how tough things get, we should never give up. Eager to learn more about the gladiators who fought and died in the arenas all those years ago? Be strong, be brave, and never, ever quit. Or perhaps you'll simply feel a renewed sense of appreciation for the strength and courage it takes to face life as challenges head-on, easing your muscles and calming your mind. Feel the tension building as the fight reaches its climax. The tension of the fight, the sweat and blood of the contestants, their quills hesitating at words like arena, gladius and ludus. Amidst the roar of the crowd, the clash of steel and the rumble of the earth, writers like Sir Walter Scott and Henry Kingsley transported these fighters to new settings. Close your eyes, release your grip on reality, and allow yourself to be carried away on the currents of dreams, reminding us of the strength, courage, and resilience of the human spirit. Tonight, though, his tale is done. You've walked among the lions and the crowds, felt the sting of the whip and the surge of victory. But now it's time to rest, breathing new life into their stories. Sculptures also depicted these fierce warriors, the quiet hum of the fire, the soft glow of the oil lamp. Surrender to the comforting embrace of relaxation as you drift into the realm of slumber, often adorning aristocratic gardens or serving as the centerpiece of elaborate fountains. Bronze helms and stone shields, some bearing the scars of battle, others polished to a gleaming shine, hinted at the long-dead warriors who had once worn them. They could hardly imagine a world where thousands gathered to watch men battle under the open sun, their lives decided by the tilt of an emperor's thumb. The Colosseum and its bloody spectacles seemed a world away from their own. They couldn't help but wonder what it must have been like to be a gladiator, a relic of a forgotten barbarity. You'll discover that the legacy of the gladiator lives on in unexpected ways. You find yourself captivated by the story of the gladiator, exploring how the spirit of the gladiator continues to captivate us even now. And despite the intervening centuries, his tale resonates deeply within your soul. Yet the story doesn't end with the fall of the Roman Empire. Join me now as we embark on a journey through the ages. Let us linger a little longer in the quiet. Long after the last games were held in the great amphitheaters of Rome, monks copying old texts paused at the mention of the games. Yet even in those cloistered libraries, the fascination remained. Something about the gladiator, this figure trapped between freedom and bondage, violence and performance, intrigued these medieval minds. They wondered about the skills these fighters must have possessed, the courage it took to face a charging bull or a snarling lion, the camaraderie forged in the deadly training yards. And so the stories persisted, passed down in hushed whispers or written in cryptic notes on the margins of ancient scrolls. For while the games themselves were long gone, their memory lingered in the hearts and minds of those who heard tales of them, waiting for a time when they might once again be brought to life. But for now, they could only exist in hushed tones and fading manuscripts. As the centuries passed, the image of the gladiator began to shift and evolve. In Renaissance Italy, artists found inspiration in the myths and legends of ancient Rome. It wasn't just the action that fascinated them, but the very essence of the gladiator, a symbol of strength, courage, and skill. These works didn't shy away from depicting the brutality of the games, but they also celebrated the skill and athleticism required to survive in the arena. It was no longer just a symbol of violence and death, but also a reminder of the grandeur and power of the Roman Empire. And in the quiet moments, as the crowds dispersed and the day grew dim, with the dawn of modernity, the image of the gladiator underwent another significant transformation. In quiet parlors by the warm glow of oil lamps, readers turned the pages of novels like Spartacus. The characters were larger than life. His story echoed through the centuries. So as you sit here, enveloped in the warmth of the firelight, let the tale of the gladiator wash over you. Imagine yourself in ancient Rome. See the dust rising in the air. Hear the gladiators' battle cries echoing through the arena. Now, bring your gaze back to the present. You've experienced the rush of the crowd, the thrill of the fight, the weight of the gladiator's legacy. Embrace the peace that settles over you. The gladiator's story will always echo through the halls of history. Let the flickering flames guide you into the night, carrying your worries and troubles away. In the quiet of the night, as the world outside fades away, maybe you won't remember every detail of the story in the morning. Whatever the case may be, the story of the gladiator has touched you in some small way, and when you wake up in the morning, carry a bit of that gladiator spirit with you. So go out into the world today and be a gladiator. Now, Let us wander further into quieter thoughts and slower tides of time. Imagine the arena once more, not as it was in the days of roaring crowds, not as it was when sand soaked crimson and the sun beat down mercilessly on the packed throngs of spectators, but as it is now. Not much remains of the great Colosseum. The winds of empire have long since scattered its stones. The crowd would melt away into the busy streets of the city, leaving behind only scattered debris, the fading echoes of chanting, and the soft sweep of servants cleaning the sands. They cleared away the remnants of the day's excitement, preparing the arena for the next spectacle, for the endless cycle of entertainment that would draw in new crowds, new voices to fill the space. This was the pattern of the games. Stories of ordinary people stepping out of their everyday lives to be part of something extraordinary, where the roar of the crowds was a constant companion, where the smell of sweat and blood mingled with the aroma of roasted meat and sweet wine. It was a microcosm of Roman society. We can almost hear the murmur of conversation from all those centuries ago. We can almost feel the vibrations of the crowd, their excitement, their anticipation, their delight and their dismay. We can hear the calls of the merchants hawking their wares and the chatter of gladiators, comparing notes between bouts, a reflection of its values, its fears and its contradictions. There is something more, something that speaks to the quiet corners of our souls. The past can rest, and so can you, bringing with us the echoes of the past. We bring with us the lessons learned from the mistakes of empires long gone. We bring with us the stories that connect us to those who lived before us. What remains when the crowd is gone? What whispers in the wind that blows through these ancient stones? Here in the calm quiet of the present, and those long ago souls who also once sat in quiet after the noise had passed, watching the last embers of daylight fade from the western sky. You are connected to them by the shared experience of being alive, by the search for meaning in a world that often seems chaotic and senseless. The answer lies in the smallest details, the worn steps leading to the viewing platforms, the rings embedded in the sand, the faint outlines of figures carved into the stone seats. In these details, we find the essence of the arena, not as a symbol of violence, but as a place where human stories unfolded, where lives were lived, where hopes were raised and dashed. It reminds us that the thirst for spectacle is as old as humanity itself. We have always been drawn to the extremes of human behavior. Here, in this quiet, we discover that we are part of a continuous story, a story that began long ago and continues to this day. The details of their lives are gone, lost to the sands of time, but their moments of joy, their grief, their hope, their fear, their relief, their quiet thoughts at the end of the day, these are not so different from your own. We are connected to those who came before us by an invisible thread, a thread woven from the same hopes, fears, and dreams that make us human, to the tests of strength and skill, to the battles between good and evil. But it also reminds us of the darker side of our nature, our capacity for cruelty, for indifference, for the lust of violence. Within this vibrant city, the arena stood as a testament to human nature, a place where the boundaries between civilization and savagery seemed to blur, where the cheers and jeers of the crowd echoed through the ages, leaving us with a glimpse into a world long gone, a world not so different from our own, to witness feats of strength and skill that left them breathless. That we find the most profound lessons. Look closely at the details that have endured, the chipped and weathered stones, the faded paintings on the walls, the ghost of the crowds that once filled these stands. In these remnants, you will find echoes of a past that resonate with the questions and struggles that continue to shape our world today. To be captivated by the drama of life and death played out before their eyes. There were merchants eager to escape the humdrum of trade, soldiers seeking respite from the rigors of their duty, lovers seeking a shared experience to bind them closer together. Each person carried their own story, their own reasons for being there, and each would carry away memories that would be recounted for years to come. This was the rhythm of the crowds, and the earthquakes of the ages have swallowed its foundations deep into the earth. But still, imagine what remains standing, a vast circle of stone. When we witness something breathtaking, our minds and bodies naturally want to pause, to drink in the moment, to remember. The legions went home, the barbarians sacked the city, the crowds dispersed, leaving the arena empty, silent and vulnerable. Time erodes even the greatest monuments. The sands are swept clean, the banners come down, the fighters fade into memory. This has always been the way of things. Empires rise and fall, rulers come and go, and even the mightiest arenas eventually crumble into ruins. We cling to these moments because they are ours, alone. We are limited by our own experiences, our own perspectives, but in crowds, we become part of something grander, Often it is something quieter, something more subtle, a lesson, perhaps, or a story, a whisper. And if we listen carefully, we can hear the stories that the silence tells us. The cheers of thousands affirm our feelings, deepening our connection to the spectacle itself, weathered and worn smooth by countless years of wind and rain. Standing alone beneath the stars, quiet and still beneath the night sky, when the roar of the crowd is just a whisper on the wind, that is when we find the true legacy of this place. For all its grandeur, the arena was always more than just a stage for violence. It was a reflection, a mirror held up to society itself. Each gladiator who stepped into the arena brought their own tale, their own hopes and dreams, their fears and their regrets. These men, and they were almost always men, were more than just fighters. They were actors on a grand stage. Their movements, rehearsed and honed over years of training, told stories without words. Stories of survival, of resilience, of the will to keep going. Even in the darkest moments, the crowds roared their approval. They cheered the brave, the strong, the cunning, and they mourned the fallen with a mixture of admiration and pity. So as we stand in its near absence, we can see ourselves reflected back, not just in arenas, but in marketplaces, temples, and city squares. People have always been drawn to spectacle, to moments shared with thousands of others, where emotions can swell in unison, laughter echoing, chants rising, all at once, all together. In a world before screens, such gatherings were the primary source of entertainment, an escape from the routines of daily life. People came to be seen, to be part of something larger than themselves, and to lose themselves in the energy of the multitude. See how even now, despite the centuries that lie between us, the most powerful senators and emperors sat in shaded seats close to the action, far from the dust and the din, enjoying the show while sipping wine and discussing strategy or philosophy. Others watched from high stone benches, shaded by fluttering awnings. Still, others stood packed together in the upper tiers, straining to see the contests below. All around, the ebb and flow of the crowd surged with excitement, cheers and applause mingling together. Together, they formed one body, one voice, cheering, jeering, judging, united in their focus on the spectacle before them. The echo of humanity resonates within these silent walls. Throughout history, crowds have gathered in many places. In ancient Rome, the arena was a place where order and chaos intertwined. But when the games ended, silence always returned. Spectacle is seductive, isn't it? And yet, no matter how grand the event, no matter how loud the cheers, all spectacles end eventually. The Roman emperors fell. Yet even in the absence of spectacle, there is meaning to be found if we know where to look. When the dust settles and the noise fades, what remains, then, when the spectacle is gone? Beneath the clamor of the Colosseum, stories unfolded, tales of courage, of desperation, of triumph and tragedy. And in the audience, amidst the sea of faces, there were stories too. These stories, big and small, unfolded against the backdrop of ancient Rome, a city teeming with life. But it is in the quiet moments, in the spaces between the cheers and the screams. The arena was not merely a place of entertainment, as we wander through the empty stands, but beyond the noise, beyond the spectacle, we come to the present moment, to the quiet of this place, and here in the stillness, we find a profound truth about ourselves. As we stand here now, you may sense that distant connection between yourself. Their names are gone, their faces forgotten. It is time to let it all drift away. Are you ready? Okay, let's do this. Welcome to this meditation. I invite you to get comfy, maybe even lie down if you'd like, and let's begin with a bit of storytelling. This will set the scene for our meditation today. Ready? Here goes. Now, let us drift through the forgotten corridors of time itself. Time, in its quiet way, moves steadily forward. The stories we have explored tonight of gladiators, of arenas, of battles and spectators are but small threads in the endless fabric of history. But every thread remains woven into the whole, whether seen or unseen. And yet, every so often, something catches our attention, some detail, some face, some name. We linger on it, wanting to understand it better, to see it more clearly, to feel its presence more keenly. So let us do that now. Let us turn back the wheels of time and explore one of those moments, one of those faces, one of those names. You are walking through a quiet museum. It's early in the morning. The museum is nearly empty, and there is nobody around you as you move slowly from room to room. Soft pools of golden light illuminate the treasures within glass cases, and as you pass by, you catch glimpses of artifacts from ages past. They are beautiful, intricate, mysterious, but most of all, they are silent. As you move on, you find yourself in a room unlike the others, The air seems different here, somehow quieter, somehow more expectant. In the center of the room stands a single glass case, and within it lies a humble collection of everyday objects from long ago. There is nothing particularly valuable about them, nothing that glitters or shines, but something about them calls to you, beckons you closer, and as you step forward, you notice details you might have missed before. First, there is a fragment of a gladius blade, the short sword carried by Roman soldiers. It is dull now, having known better days, but even in its simplicity, it speaks of courage and conflict, of hands that gripped it tightly, of lives that swirled around it. Nearby, nestled against the wall, lies a tiny bronze helmet. Its crest has long since vanished, but you can almost imagine the glint of sunlight on polished metal, the shadow of a warrior's face where it once rested. Further still, you come across a faded oil lamp, its clay body rough against your fingertips, the scent of smoke and old earth still clinging to it like a whisper. Each object sits still, unassuming, waiting patiently for you to uncover its story. You lean closer, trying to hear the echoes of the past, to piece together the lives that touch these things, the faces that saw them every day, the hands that used them so long ago. But the answers are elusive, hidden just beyond your grasp. All you have are questions. Who were they? What were their hopes and dreams? How did they live? What made them laugh? And most importantly, how did they vanish? Where did they go? Yet even without answers, you feel a profound connection to these silent relics, an understanding that transcends time itself. You realize that they are not just artifacts of the past, but threads in the grand tapestry of life, connecting you to the countless hands that have touched these things, the countless eyes that have gazed upon them with familiarity, never knowing they would someday become relics. And in that realization, you find a profound sense of peace. Here you are amidst the echoes of the past, surrounded by fragments of stories that unfolded here long ago. The room seems to hum with the energy of lives well lived, of laughter and tears, of triumphs and struggles. It's a symphony of emotions played out on the silent stage of time. Outside, the world bustles with activity, but within these four walls, there is a different rhythm, a slower, deeper beat. The artifacts seem to beckon you closer, inviting you to share in their stories, to listen to their whispers. For a moment, you lose yourself in this timeless realm, forgetting the passage of time, forgetting the weight of the world outside. You are here, in this quiet sanctuary, connected to the past in ways you never imagined possible. And then, as suddenly as it began, it ends. The room fades away, the artifacts disappear, and you are left standing in the bustling crowd once more. But you are not the same. You carry with you the echoes of the past, the whispers of those who came before. Their stories may be lost to time, but their spirits live on, woven into the very fabric of this place. And in that realization, you find solace and strength to face the world anew. Now, back to the meditation. As you move from case to case, it becomes harder to imagine those ancient lives clearly. Faces blur, names fade, the sharp edges of history soften into mist. And perhaps that is natural. Time does not demand that we remember everything clearly. Some memories are meant to soften, to fade gently, leaving only their essence behind like a scent that lingers in the air after a candle has been extinguished. Your presence in the flow. And now, as you walk slowly onward, you may feel the subtle truth beneath it all. You too are part of this great current. One day, the objects you know, the streets you walk, the words you speak all will become distant echoes, softened by time. But just as the gladiators once stood in the sand, feeling the sun on their skin, you too are here now, feeling the breath of this quiet moment. That simple act of being present, of noticing the stillness is timeless. Letting go into sleep. Allow yourself now to drift further, floating gently along this quiet river of history, knowing you are safe, knowing that you are not alone in this flow of time, and knowing that it is perfectly all right to let go and simply rest. And here is the final part of our meditation. Rest now, friend. Allow this meditation to infuse your entire being. Visualize any tension or stress melting away like mist before the rising sun. Breathe deeply, embracing the tranquility that surrounds you. Imagine your worries and troubles drifting off into the distance, becoming smaller and smaller until they are insignificant specks on the horizon. Feel the calmness spreading through your body, relaxing your muscles, slowing your heart rate, bringing a peaceful smile to your lips. This is your moment of solace, your retreat into the quiet depths of your own being. And as you surrender to this peaceful state, remember that you are not alone. You are connected to the vast web of existence, held within the timeless embrace of the universe. Trust in the natural order of life, knowing that you are exactly where you need to be, Surrender to the flow of time, embracing the present moment with gratitude and wonder. For in this moment of stillness, you discover the true essence of peace that resides within you always. And so our meditation comes to a gentle close. As you awaken from this tranquil state, bring awareness to your breath. Notice how your body feels, relaxed and at ease. Take a moment to stretch, to yawn, to wiggle your fingers and toes, allowing your body to reconnect with its home here on earth. As you open your eyes, you may find a renewed sense of clarity and peace. Carry this feeling with you throughout your day. Whenever you encounter challenges or stress, take a deep breath and return to this inner sanctuary. Remember that you possess the power to find stillness amidst the chaos. And as the day comes to an end, know that you are part of a timeless continuum, connected to countless lives that have unfolded before you. Embrace the flow of time and honor the echoes of the past that resonate within you. Sweet dreams. Friends, may your sleep be filled with peaceful journeys through the corridors of time. Until we meet again, tonight we surrender to rest. We explore the quiet comfort of forgetting. There is a certain kindness in forgetting. Not every story is meant to be remembered forever. Some things are meant to fade. Just as ancient stones crumble under wind and rain, so too do many memories slip away, quietly, without struggle or sorrow. Some things, they were never meant to last. Some moments, some feelings, some thoughts, they were never meant to stay. They come and go like the tides upon the shore, ever shifting, ever changing, and with each wave that recedes, a part of the world fades from view. What is left behind is not the exact record of every grain of sand, every drop of water, every shell and pebble. No, what lingers is only the faintest impression, a shadow, a sigh, a soft, formless echo that carries no weight. In the grand expanse of time, our thoughts tonight do not need to cling to every detail we've explored. You need not remember every name, every date, or every image. It is perfectly natural to let those thoughts dissolve, as gently as morning mist rising from a quiet field. If you feel a stirring within you, a desire to hold on just a little tighter, to keep the echoes ringing a bit louder, then listen closely. Listen to the whispers of the wind through the grasses. It is the sound of peace urging you to let go. You are free to let them go. Tonight, the world of the gladiators fades into memory. Those fierce warriors locked in combat, their struggles and their triumphs. All of it slips into the shadows. The roar of the crowds, the clash of steel, the cries of victory and defeat. They all mingle with the whispers of the wind and become nothing more than a half-remembered dream. What remains is the echo of an echo, a phantom sensation of movement and noise that means nothing in the stillness of this night. The ancient stones of the arena, those silent witnesses to countless battles, they to begin to crumble in your mind, their rough surfaces worn smooth by the passage of countless feet, their weathered inscriptions blurring in the soft light of the waning moon. Even the banners, the flags that once proudly flapped in the breeze, they too start to fray and fade, becoming mere fragments of color dancing at the edge of your vision. And now, my friends, the time has come to let go, to release the echoes, set the phantoms free, allow the stones to crumble and the banners to dissolve into the vast canvas of the night sky. As the gladiators fade from view, a warmth begins to spread through you. It starts in the deepest chambers of your heart and slowly seeps into every corner of your being. This warmth is the gentle embrace of release, the quiet comfort of forgetting. It envelops you like a soft blanket on a cool evening, inviting you to relax, to let go of the tensions that have been holding you in their grip. Your muscles melt into the softness of the earth beneath you, releasing all the tremors of the day. Your breath slows down, each inhalation and exhalation carrying away remnants of the day's worries and woes. Oh, how sweet it feels to loosen the reins, to let the mind wander freely through the vast expanse of dreams. Feel the comforting pressure of slumber pulling you into its depths. Allow the shadows to dance around you, weaving tales of fantasy and intrigue that have no hold on your waking hours. Drift further into this sea of tranquility. Let the current carry you away from the shores of consciousness and into the boundless ocean of the subconscious. Here, the rules of the waking world no longer apply. Here, the logic of the day surrenders to the whims of imagination. No need to grasp at the fleeting images that cross your path. No need to question the meaning of the whispers that caress your ear. Simply surrender to the rhythm of the universe. Flow with the ebb and flow of energy that surges through you. Let the images come and go like visitors at dusk, gracing you with their presence for a moment before disappearing into the velvet darkness. Hold on to nothing, for everything here is temporary. Everything is transient. Everything shall pass. And in the passing, you find peace. As the gladiators fade from view, their struggles and their fates become a distant memory. The Colosseum, once a symbol of power and spectacle, transforms into a crumbling ruin in your mind. Its grandeur, its might, all reduced to dust and scattered fragments. The columns that once stood proud and tall now lie broken and scattered. The arches, once gateways to excitement and bloodlust, collapse into heaps of rubble. The very essence of the Colosseum, its soul, dissolves into the ethereal mists of oblivion. And you, my friends, find yourself at peace. The echoes of the crowd, the chants and cheers that once reverberated through the stands grow faint and distant. The roar of the lions, the clash of swords and the cries of fallen gladiators fall silent. All that remains is a profound hush, a sacred silence that wraps around you like a soothing balm. Within this hallowed quiet, the bustling activity of the daytime world loses all meaning. The relentless ticking of the clock, the insistent hum of electronic devices, the ceaseless chatter of social interactions, all silenced. Here, in the hushed embrace of the fading Colosseum, you are free from the demands of the external world, free from the need to perform, to conform, to impress. Gently, oh so gently, allow your eyelids to droop, surrendering your vision to the velvet darkness of twilight. The world beyond the Colosseum dissolves into obscurity, leaving you suspended in a timeless void where only peace resides. Within this sanctuary of solitude, you are embraced by a tranquility that knows no bounds. Worries and anxieties, hopes and fears, all evaporate into the vast expanse of the darkening sky. Your thoughts, once racing like chariots across the plains of your mind, now slow to a gentle trot, eventually coming to a standstill. The turmoil of the day subsides, replaced by a profound stillness that echoes the quiet dignity of the aging Colosseum. Oh, how liberating it is to shed the weight of the world, to cast off the shackles of societal expectations, to release the burdens that have been dragging you down. In this sacred space of solitude, you are truly free. As the Colosseum fades from view, its grandeur reduced to dust and shadows, you find yourself enveloped by a comforting warmth. This warmth emanates from the core of your being, spreading through your limbs and filling your heart with a soothing glow. It is the radiance of relaxation, the gentle embrace of inner peace that comes from releasing all that was once so fiercely held. Like a traveler who finally reaches a place of refuge after a long and arduous journey, you sink into this feeling of tranquility. The conflicts and challenges of the day melt away, leaving behind only the soothing balm of quietude. Your muscles relax, releasing all the tension that has been building up throughout the day. Your breathing slows down, becoming a soft, steady rhythm that harmonizes with the quietude of the surroundings. Oh, how exquisite it feels to let go, to surrender to the calming embrace of peace. The remnants of excitement and anticipation gradually fade into the background, transforming into soft, hazy memories. The vivid impressions of the gladiators battling it out in the arena, the roar of the crowd, the clash of steel on steel, all soften, losing their sharp edges and becoming gentler, more subdued. These fading echoes serve as a reminder of the impermanence of life's experiences. Even the most intense emotions, the most exhilarating moments, even those will eventually wane, leaving behind a sense of tranquility and balance. And so you drift into the night, cradled by the gentle warmth of peace. The Colosseum, with its tales of valor and despair, fades into the tapestry of dreams. You, my friends, are home within the fortress of your own heart, where the echoes of the past find solace and the future whispers its secrets to the wind. Sleep well and dream kindly. May your slumber be filled with the softest feathers and the gentlest moonlight. Let the warmth of peace envelop you, carrying you to a place where troubles cease to exist and the gladiators of your past become nothing more than valiant phantoms in the grand theater of your heart. And should you wake before the dawn, and should your thoughts drift back to the fading Colosseum, then remember this: you are always free to return to the peace that resides within. Welcome to another guided meditation for sleep. This one is called The Quiet Beyond Stories. It's based on an original concept by yours truly, and it explores the idea that when all stories come to an end, when all tales are told and done, what remains? If you enjoy this kind of thing, then do please hit that subscribe button below so you don't miss out on any of my future releases. In particular, there are several more guided meditations in the works right now, including one for creativity and one for deep healing, both of which I hope to release very soon. But that's enough promotion. Let's get started. Now we come to the final stretch of this long, gentle path. By now, the stories of gladiators and emperors of dusty arenas and crumbling stones are distant, far behind you. Their shapes blur softly at the edges, becoming vague, indistinct, as though you are looking at them through the haze of a dream just before waking. And as we come to the final moments of this journey, I invite you to let go of those images too, not with any sense of urgency or force, but simply allowing them to drift away like clouds passing overhead. You remain here, settled and calm, as the sounds and sights of the story fade into quiet. All stories must end, even the longest tales, even the grandest histories, fade eventually into quiet. The embers of the tale glow warmly within the vast darkness, but they no longer cast flickering shadows on the walls of your awareness. The echoes of battle and triumph, the clang of sword on shield, the roar of the crowds, all of it fades into the silence of the night. What remains is not the words nor the images, but simply stillness, a soft, vast quiet, where nothing needs to be remembered, nothing needs to be understood, and nothing at all needs to be done. Floating in the present moment, you are here now, not in ancient Rome, not in forgotten cities, but simply here, breathing slowly, comfortably, weightlessly. There is nothing left to carry, no story left to follow, only the soft, easy rhythm of your breath and the gentle pull of sleep. And with each exhale, you drift a little further from the world of the story, from the waking world, and a little deeper into the world of dreams, allowing sleep to take over. If sleep hasn't already arrived, it is very near now, waiting patiently, ready to gather you up and carry you somewhere quiet and safe. And if you turn your awareness inwards, you may feel yourself slowly drifting, so gently that you hardly notice, into that deeper place, where thoughts become soft and the world becomes quiet. The world of the story, the waking world, fades into the distance, becoming nothing more than a half-remembered dream, while the images and sounds of the tale linger still. They no longer have power over you. They cannot startle you awake nor pull you back to the world of day, for you are here in the quiet, and the quiet is your friend. You may feel a smile gracing your lips, a peaceful, tender smile that has nothing to do with the triumphs and tragedies of the story. This is a different kind of peace, born not of victory or defeat, but of simple, quiet being. And if there are any final echoes of the tale that threaten to disturb your peace, then simply acknowledge them, accept them, and allow the quiet to absorb them completely. For the quiet is vast and patient, and it has room for everything. It is here in this spacious quiet that you are utterly free, free from the expectations and demands of the waking world, free from the weight of the story, free from everything. So surrender to this feeling of freedom. Let it wash over you, through you, and around you, allowing it to soothe and comfort you, allowing it to heal and restore you. In this place, there is nothing more you need to hear, nothing more you need to know. You don't need to remember anything about the story. You don't need to understand anything about it either. And when you're ready, you can allow the quiet to take over completely. Let it fill you up and cradle you in its warm embrace, letting go of everything else, allowing sleep to take care of the rest. The night will hold you. The quiet